They're infected.
Infected?
Water.
Infected with what?
Oh, I shouldn't have done that.
There's something in the blood.
Lesson 1. You never go anywhere alone.
When 28 Days Later hit theaters in 2002, it redefined what a horror film could be in the 21st century. Directed by Danny Boyle and written by Alex Garland, the film wasn't just a zombie movie. It was a raw, psychological, and deeply unsettling exploration of human survival in a world stripped bare of civilization. It arrived at a time when horror cinema had grown predictable, bringing back the kind of realism and dread that hadn't been felt since classics like Night of the Living Dead. With its low-budget aesthetic, haunting score, and powerful performances, it became one of the most influential horror films of its era, and a milestone that would shape the genre for years to come. The story begins in a devastated London, empty and silent, where a lone man named Jim wakes up in a hospital after being in a coma. He steps into a city that looks completely abandoned, no cars moving, no voices, no signs of life, only the eerie sound of wind echoing through empty streets. What he doesn't yet know is that a mysterious virus, known as the Rage virus, has spread across the United Kingdom, turning the infected into violent, uncontrollable beings consumed by fury. This opening sequence, filmed in real deserted streets at dawn, instantly captures the haunting tone of isolation and fear that defines the film. Boyle's decision to shoot on digital video gave every frame a grainy documentary, like texture, making the horror feel disturbingly real. As Jim begins to understand the scope of the disaster, he encounters other survivors, Selena, a tough and pragmatic woman driven by survival instincts, and Mark, who has already seen the worst of humanity. Their journey through the ruins of London is filled with tension, not only from the infected, but from the psychological strain of living in a world without order. Every decision becomes a matter of life and death, and every human connection feels fragile, fleeting, and desperate. The film's pacing builds gradually, not relying on jump scares, but on atmosphere, silence, and the unknown lurking just out of frame. The Rage virus itself stands apart from typical depictions of the undead. These aren't slow, shambling corpses, they're fast, furious, and terrifyingly human. The infected scream, sprint, and attack with feral intensity, making every encounter unpredictable and savage. This innovation completely changed the zombie subgenre, inspiring countless films and shows in the years that followed. The idea of fast zombies became a hallmark of modern horror, and 28 Days Later was the film that made it iconic. Visually, the film is a masterpiece of minimalist terror. The decision to show London's landmarks, completely deserted Piccadilly Circus, Westminster Bridge, and other iconic locations created a sense of haunting beauty amid destruction. The city feels like a graveyard, and the contrast between its familiar architecture and the absence of human life amplifies the sense of loss. The cinematography, combined with the eerie score by Cillian Murphy, turns the film into an emotional experience rather than just a horror spectacle. The track in the house in a heartbeat became especially famous for its slow build and explosive energy, perfectly capturing the film's blend of melancholy and rage. As Jim, Selena, and a few other survivors, Frank and his daughter Hannah, try to find safety, their journey takes them from the city's desolation to the countryside's deceptive calm. Along the way, the story shifts from a tale of infection to a deeper exploration of morality, hope, and human nature. They encounter soldiers who promise safety, but instead reveal the darker side of what happens when order collapses. The film uses this turn to question whether the real monsters are the infected or the survivors themselves. It's a brutal commentary on how easily power and fear can corrupt, and how survival can bring out both the best and worst in humanity. The performances are deeply human and grounded. Cillian Murphy, in his breakout role as Jim, brings a quiet vulnerability that evolves into raw determination. His transformation from a confused hospital patient to a hardened survivor is one of the film's most powerful arcs. Naomie Harris as Selena embodies strength and realism, yet allows moments of tenderness to slip through her hardened exterior. Brendan Gleeson as Frank brings warmth and hope, offering a glimpse of normalcy before tragedy strikes. Each character feels real, not just because of the writing, but because of the natural, unfiltered style of Boyle's direction. The movie's power lies in its ability to balance horror with emotion. It's not just about running from monsters, it's about what happens when society collapses and the rules no longer apply. Themes of trust, loss, and the fragility of civilization run through every scene. The infected may be the immediate threat, but the real fear comes from what people are willing to do to survive. This psychological depth is what sets 28 Days Later apart from countless other apocalyptic films. By the time the film reaches its climax, it's less about fear and more about redemption. Jim's evolution into a figure of rage and protection mirrors the very virus that destroyed the world, showing how survival can turn anyone into something unrecognizable. The ending, which has multiple versions, leaves audiences questioning what survival truly means. In one version, there's hope, a possibility of rebuilding. In another, despair takes over, emphasizing that the virus has consumed not just bodies but humanity itself. Behind the scenes, the film's production was a story of creativity under constraint. Made on a modest budget, the filmmakers used digital cameras to achieve a gritty realism and to shoot quickly during early mornings when London streets were empty. This guerrilla-style approach gave the film its distinct atmosphere raw, immediate, and unnervingly believable. The use of unknown actors and handheld cinematography made the apocalypse feel intimate and close, as if viewers were witnessing it firsthand. Danny Boyle's direction emphasized natural lighting, improvised reactions, and a sense of chaos that made the world of 28 Days Later feel alive, even in its decay. Upon release, the film was both a critical and commercial success. Audiences were captivated by its originality, intensity, and emotional depth. It reignited interest in the zombie and post-apocalyptic genres, paving the way for films like Dawn of the Dead, 2004, The Walking Dead series, and even video games that borrowed its tone and visual style. Many critics called it the rebirth of modern horror, an intelligent, thought-provoking film that used fear to explore human resilience and morality. Its success led to a sequel 28 weeks later, and talks of a third installment have continued over the years, showing just how lasting its impact has been. But what truly makes the original unforgettable is its sense of realism. The world it portrays feels entirely possible, an outbreak that spreads faster than anyone can react, governments collapsing, and ordinary people forced to become survivors overnight. It's a nightmare scenario, but one that feels chillingly plausible. Even decades after its release, 28 Days Later remains relevant. The themes of infection, isolation, and societal breakdown resonate even more strongly today. The idea that civilization is only a few days away from collapse is a haunting truth that the film captured perfectly. Its influence can be seen across popular culture, from movies to games to literature, each borrowing something from Boyle's vision of a world consumed by rage. The haunting music, stark visuals, and unflinching realism combine to create an experience that lingers long after the credits roll. Every scream, every moment of silence, Every flash of violence carries emotional weight. The film doesn't rely on spectacle, it relies on atmosphere and emotion. It's a reminder that true horror isn't about monsters, but about losing what makes us human. What makes 28 Days Later timeless is its balance between terror and tenderness. Amid all the blood and chaos, there are moments of beauty sunlight streaming through broken windows, laughter in a world of ruin, fleeting glimpses of hope when everything seems lost. These contrasts make the horror even more powerful. It's not just destruction, it's the painful memory of what once was. The film's legacy goes beyond cinema. It changed how horror was told, shot, and felt. It proved that a small-budget film, driven by creativity and vision, could achieve what massive blockbusters could not: genuine fear and emotional truth. Danny Boyle's fearless approach, Alex Garland's sharp writing, and the cast's raw performances created something that felt alive, brutal, and deeply human. Today, more than 20 years later, 28 Days Later continues to be studied, analyzed, and celebrated. Its influence can be seen in everything from camera techniques to storytelling styles across the horror landscape. It's a film that didn't just entertain, it left an imprint. It forced audiences to confront the darkest corners of human nature and the fragile line between civilization and chaos. In the end, 28 Days Later isn't just a movie about infection, it's about transformation. It's about what happens when everything familiar disappears and people are stripped down to their core instincts. The world it shows is terrifying, but within it lies the smallest flicker of hope. That's what makes it unforgettable, the idea that even in the face of absolute horror, humanity refuses to die.